You guys, we need to have a serious talk about what is actually going on over at Toyota. Because if you had pulled me aside, I don't know, like 5 years ago?
Yeah, even 3 years ago, honestly.
Right. And told me that the undisputed, undefeated king of the sensible family sedan was going to completely kill off its legendary V6 engine.
Rest in peace.
Seriously. Abandon gas-only models entirely and then have the absolute audacity to charge nearly $40,000 for a top-trim version of the 9th generation Camry. I mean, I would have laughed you right out of the garage.
Oh, totally. It sounds like a bad joke.
It really does. But here we are. It is the 2026 model year, and Toyota has completely doubled down on this massive hybrid-only gamble. So the question we have to answer for you today is simple. Is this still the ultimate bulletproof daily driver that you can, pass down to your kids? Or is it an overpriced, over-teched appliance hiding some shocking build quality secrets behind a very aggressive front grille?
What's fascinating here is how the public generally operates when it comes to a brand with this kind of legacy. I mean, people blindly trust the badge on the hood.
Oh, 100%.
They walk onto the dealer lot assuming absolute perfection because, well, it is a Camry. The reputation precedes the actual hardware. But if you strip away the nostalgia and actually dig into what is happening in the real world.
Which is exactly what we're doing today.
Right. And you look at the sheer volume of complaints pouring in from actual owners who are currently living with this new generation, that illusion of flawless, indestructible reliability starts to show some very real, very expensive cracks.
Yeah, and we are definitely not here to recite a sterile press release or feed you the corporate marketing spin about how innovative this new generation is.
Well, who wants to hear that?
Exactly. We are cutting straight through the hype to gossip about the real pricing you are going to face at the dealership, the incredibly annoying daily quirks that will drive you insane, that highly marketed new nightshade trim, and whether this hybrid-only family hauler actually matters in today's wildly expensive automotive market. So grab your coffee because we have some serious dirty laundry to air out today.
We really do, but before we get to those shocking owner complaints, and trust me, the pile is getting tall, we really have to look at what is actually powering this thing now that the legendary V6 is officially dead and buried.
Yeah, let's get into the hardware.
So the 2026 Camry basically carries over the massive mechanical redesign we saw in 2025. And the big headline, like the thing that changes the entire dynamic of this car, is that it is entirely hybrid.
Across the board.
Across the board. There are no exceptions. There are no special orders for a pure gas engine. If you buy a new Camry today, you are buying a hybrid.
They took the choice completely out of your hands. So looking at what's underneath, they mated a 2.5-liter 4-cylinder engine to a pair of electric motors.
Right.
And if you go with a standard front-wheel drive setup, you are looking at 225 horsepower. Now, if you opt for the all-wheel drive version, which, by the way, essentially just throws an extra electric motor onto the rear axle to push you from the back when things get slippery.
Right. It's not a traditional mechanical drive shaft.
Exactly. But that bumps you up slightly to 232 horsepower. Out in the real world, you're hitting 60 miles per hour in about 7 seconds.
Which is fine.
Yeah, I mean, it is not exactly going to pin you to the seat, but it gets out of its own way. And here is the kicker. It routes all of that power through an electronically controlled, continuously variable transmission, the infamous eCVT.
Now, hold on, because the eCVT is the industry standard for a reason.
I know.
It maximizes fuel efficiency in a hybrid setup. And it is really important to understand how Toyota's system works compared to, like, the terrible reputations of older CVTs.
Oh, like the old Nissans.
Exactly. A traditional CVT uses a steel push belt running between two variable cones. That is the system that famously failed in millions of cars and just gave the transmission a bad name overall. Toyota's eCVT doesn't use belts at all.
No belts to snap.
Right. It uses a highly robust planetary gear set that balances the power between the gas engine and the two electric motor generators. Mechanically, I mean, it is practically bulletproof.
Sure, mechanically.
Yeah, but the way it actually feels on the road is where the controversy really starts for people who are expecting a traditional stepped gear driving experience.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah.
Because driving this new setup is a highly schizophrenic experience.
That's a good way to put it.
Right. Around town, going 20 miles per hour in electric mode. Sure, it is beautifully smooth, But the moment you need to merge onto a short uphill highway on-ramp and you actually floor the gas pedal, that eCVT immediately spikes the gas engine to a constant screaming high RPM and just holds it there.
It really does.
It sounds exactly like a kitchen blender trying to make a smoothie out of a handful of gravel.
Oh, man.
I'm serious. The engine note gets extremely gruff. It is incredibly loud inside the cabin, and it instantly shatters the illusion that you are driving a premium vehicle. It is fundamentally not a sports car, no matter how many fake, aggressive plastic air vents Toyota decides to stick on the front and rear bumpers.
You are not wrong about the noise under heavy acceleration. It is absolutely not a refined acoustic experience. The engine drone is real.
Very real.
But we have to look at why Toyota explicitly made this engineering sacrifice. It is entirely about the fuel economy. I mean, they are playing a massive numbers game, and mathematically, they are winning.
Oh, big time.
If you buy the base LE trim with front-wheel drive, this midsize family hauler pulls off an astonishing 51 miles per gallon combined.
That is insane.
Do the math on the fuel tank, and that means you are looking at over 650 miles of driving range on a single fill-up.
Wow.
For the average suburban commuter, you might only visit a gas station once a month. That level of efficiency is the ultimate trump card against fierce competitors like the Honda Accord. They happily traded acoustic refinement for absolute dominance at the pump.
Sure, it is efficient. But is getting 51 miles per gallon really an excuse for a nearly $40,000 car sounding like a broken home appliance when you try to pass a semi-truck?
Well, when you put it that way.
I mean, getting over 600 miles to a tank is a massive flex. I will give them that. But you guys, those 600 miles are going to feel like a psychological torture chamber if the car is literally falling apart around you or driving you completely insane while you are trying to enjoy your morning commute.
Yeah, that's the trade-off.
You mentioned they traded acoustic refinement for fuel efficiency, which makes sense on paper. But when you start looking at the real-world complaints, especially at these new higher price points, it seems they traded away their legendary build quality and daily drivability too.
Yeah, the daily drivability issue is heavily tied to what is, ironically, supposed to be keeping people safe. Modern vehicles are essentially rolling computers, but the calibration on the new Camry's driver assistance suite is proving to be incredibly overbearing.
It's awful.
The intrusive safety tech is turning into a genuine nightmare for owners.
It totally ruins the daily driving experience. Let's talk about the proactive driving assist for a second. Picture this. You just bought your top-tier XSE. You've got your morning macchiato. You are cruising down a mild suburban curve. No one is in front of you.
Just minding your own business.
Exactly. Suddenly, the car just decides to aggressively start braking on its own because the radar got confused by a parked car or a shadow. It acts like a digital ghost randomly stomping on your brake pedal.
It's so jarring.
It is. Then you have the driver focus system. If you dare to lean back too far at a stoplight to stretch, or you, glance over at your passenger for 2 seconds to answer a question, the dashboard literally starts flashing and yelling at you to watch the road.
It's like you're a teenager with a permit again.
Yes. And do not even get me started on the front cross-traffic alert.
Yeah.
It triggers constant, high-pitched anxiety at four-way intersections, just screaming wildly at cars that are 50 feet away and clearly coming to a stop. Driving the new Camry feels exactly like having a highly caffeinated, incredibly nervous driving instructor sitting in the passenger seat, constantly slamming imaginary brakes and screaming at shadows.
This raises an important question, though. How does a brand built entirely on a legacy of quiet, bulletproof reliability justify this hypersensitive technology that actively annoys the driver?
I have no idea.
And it is not just the software either. We are seeing widespread reports of mechanical and assembly issues that simply shouldn't be happening in a car at this price point. We are talking about literal clunking noises from the suspension over speed bumps.
Oh, I saw that.
Yeah, it was even noted by journalists in several early press cars. And there are rattling issues in the interior door panels, too.
Oh, and we absolutely have to gossip about the front bumper issue. Have you guys seen this popping up online?
It's everywhere.
There are owners actively documenting that the front bumper fascia is literally popping out slightly near the headlight housing. It just unclips itself while you were driving down the highway.
Just detaches.
It is a widely known issue floating around the community right now, and there is no official fix or recall for it yet. Toyota dealerships are literally just shrugging. Imagine spending $35,000 on a brand new, cutting-edge family sedan and having to physically push your bumper back into place with the palm of your hand like a Lego piece after your morning commute.
Well, the bumper issue actually highlights a major shift in modern automotive manufacturing. I mean, automakers are using incredibly thin plastic clips and tabs to attach huge body panels to save weight and, speed up the assembly line.
Right, cheap plastic.
Exactly. If the factory tolerances are off by even a millimeter, the thermal expansion of the plastic sitting out in the hot sun is enough to snap those clips right out of their housings.
That is just wild.
Combine that with reports of spontaneously cracking windshields, inadequate air conditioning cooling during peak summer heat, and sudden 12-volt battery drainage where the car just plays dead in your driveway, and it paints a pretty concerning picture.
And what about the hybrid system itself? I mean, everyone says Toyota hybrids run forever, but you guys are still buying a massive battery pack.
True. The core mechanical components, like the gas engine and the planetary gear set we talked about, are generally rock solid. And yes, the high-voltage hybrid battery pack typically lasts 15 years or up to 200,000 miles.
Okay, that's solid.
But you have to factor in the long-term reality. When that pack finally does degrade and die out of warranty, you are looking at a replacement cost of $3,000 to $4,000. Yeah. You combine that looming future maintenance cost with these current electrical gremlins, the parasitic battery drains, and the popping bumpers, and it seriously challenges the classic buy it and forget it reputation that built the Camry empire in the first place.
Exactly. You are paying a premium up front for peace of mind, but you are getting a car that is essentially having a nervous breakdown on the way to the grocery store.
It's a lot to deal with.
It is. Now, if I'm going to put up with an overbearing dashboard nanny yelling at me and exterior body panels with a mind of their own, the interior space and the actual price tag need to absolutely justify the headache.
So let's talk about living inside this thing and the massive trim ladder trap Toyota has set up for you on the showroom floor.
Well, the packaging of the interior is arguably where Toyota's engineering still shines. I mean, they had to figure out how to hide a massive lithium-ion battery pack without ruining the cabin space.
Which is not easy. Not at all. And they did it brilliantly by tucking it underneath the rear seats. As a result, it effortlessly handles a full family. You have seating for 5, with 42.1 inches of front legroom and 38 inches of rear legroom.
That's plenty.
It is remarkably spacious in the back. And because the battery is out of the way, the trunk offers a fully intact, very usable 15.1 cubic foot capacity. So it handles massive road trips and bulk Costco runs without breaking a sweat.
Okay, so the space is great, but the cabin tech is where they really try to hook you into spending more money. If you go with the base LE model, you get an 8-inch touchscreen. It does the job. It works fine.
It's adequate.
Right. But as soon as you walk into the dealership, the salesperson aggressively tempts you to climb the trim ladder to get the massive 12.3-inch digital gauge cluster and the matching 12.3-inch center infotainment screen.
Of course they do.
Now, wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto are standard across the board, which is fantastic. But the way they structure the pricing to get those bigger screens is a masterclass in separating you from your cash.
Yeah.
The base LE starts around $29,000. Honestly, in today's inflated automotive market, a midsize hybrid sedan for $29,000 is a genuine bargain.
On paper, the base LE is a phenomenal value. But the market and the dealership lots themselves heavily push buyers toward the SE and the newly introduced Nightshade edition.
And a Nightshade.
Yeah, we really need to look at the psychology of the Nightshade trim. It is essentially an appearance package. It adds darkened exterior accents, darkened badges, and custom 19-inch wheels to give it a much more aggressive, shadowy stance on the road.
Those look cool.
It looks fantastic, but you are paying thousands of dollars for pure aesthetics over function.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Once you get past those mid-level trims and start looking at the top-tier XLE and XSE, the price aggressively pushes past $35,000. And if you check the option boxes for things like ventilated seats or the panoramic roof, you are walking out the door at nearly $40,000 fully loaded.
Which is entry-level luxury money.
Exactly. Now, the luxury-focused XLE tries to justify this by adding acoustic laminated glass to the front windows to finally hush the cabin noise we complained about earlier. Meanwhile, the XSE Sport trims use a sport-tuned McPherson strut front suspension with stiffer shocks that desperately tries to make this sensible family hauler feel athletic in the corners.
Which it isn't.
No.
Yeah.
You guys, paying 40 grand for an XSE with sports suspension is like buying a tailored high-end tuxedo for a golden retriever.
That is a perfect analogy.
Right. Sure, it looks aggressive and fancy, but underneath, it just wants to take a nap on the couch. It is fundamentally not a sports car, so why are we putting stiff suspension on a commuter appliance?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it explains exactly what is happening in the global automotive market right now.
Yeah, what's the strategy here?
The transition to fully electric vehicles is stalling out, and automakers know it. To maintain their profit margins, they are leaning heavily on their legacy hybrid models. They know they can charge massive premium prices for top trims because buyers want the visual status of those 19-inch wheels and giant screens.
Status sells.
It does. But the sweet spot for this specific vehicle is absolutely the base LE or the mid-level SC. The more money you spend on premium packages, like the Premium Plus package, which throws in traffic jam assist and a 360-degree camera, the further you get from the Camry's true historical purpose.
Exactly.
It was designed from day one to be cheap, reliable, and highly efficient transportation. When you option it up to $40,000, you are suddenly competing with entry-level luxury cars that offer vastly superior acoustic refinement, better materials, and actual driving dynamics.
So what does this all mean for you guys? Pulling all of this together, is the 2026 Camry a legendary smart buy, or are we just throwing our hard-earned cash at a famous badge out of habit?
It's a tough call.
Let's be brutally honest here. The new Camry is an incredibly efficient, wonderfully spacious daily appliance that will absolutely save you a fortune at the gas pump. Getting over 600 miles to a tank is a legitimate game changer for your monthly budget. But it is entirely overhyped as a sporty vehicle.
Without a doubt.
The top trims are a massive marketing gimmick designed to pad Toyota's profit margins by dressing up a sensible commuter car in athletic gear.
I agree, the value proposition completely falls apart at the top end. The core truth remains. The base LE is the true star of the entire lineup. It delivers the essential hybrid efficiency, the bulletproof planetary gear setup, and the massive interior space without the horribly inflated price tag.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic value, provided you understand exactly what you are buying and you adjust your expectations regarding the cabin noise.
Buy the LE, save your money, and provided you immediately dig deep into those touchscreen menus and permanently disable as many of those annoying ghost-breaking safety features as the car legally allows, you will have a rock-solid daily driver.
For sure.
But I want to turn this over to you guys. Would you accept a front bumper that occasionally pops out on the highway and a digital ghost randomly hitting your brakes just to get 51 miles per gallon every single day? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and we will catch you guys in the next one.